want to see the kind of industries that are opening up.
This is Local Biz Now with Joe Vagnone, where your business matters. Local Biz Now.
You have to determine what is working, what isn't working.
Joe Vagnone is a respected business broker, helping individuals buy and sell businesses. Joe has successfully owned and operated many companies in a variety of industries. This is Local Biz Now. Biz Now, because your business matters.
Yeah. You are listening to the #1 live talk business show in North Carolina. We're coming to you live from Burner Cigar Studio. This is home of the finest premium cigars and cigar smokers in the world. Great people, premium cigars. Life is good at Burner Cigars, located in Birkdale Village, and also in Denver on Highway 16. Go on by there, tell them Joe sent you, and your first cigar is on me. We hope to inspire, inform, and entertain you, because that's what we do here at News Talk WSIC, 105.9 FM, 100.7 FM, 1400 AM. I am Joe Vagnone, and you are listening to Local Biz Now, where your business matters. And every week, Julie lets me know exactly where we are on the YouTube channel, just to remind you why we are the #1 live talk business show in North Carolina. And I got an attorney and some picky co-hosts that they question that. So I got to make sure I back this up a little bit. And so let me see if I can't do that for you. We've been going strong over 11 years. We have 927 interviews of small business owners and community leaders. We have 744 videos on my YouTube channel. Please go by Joe Vagnone Business Broker. Again, Joe Vagnone Business Broker. There are over 744 videos and a lot of good, interesting people. And if there's a topic or a subject or an industry that you're interested in, I'm sure I've talked to somebody local that will give you some ideas and concept. We have 162. That's not 162 million. That's 162 subscribers. Every time I say that, we get another one. And so please go there and subscribe. Joe Vagnone, Business Broker. We would appreciate it. And again, that is my backup on why we are the #1 live talk business show in North Carolina. And you are listening to Local Biz Now, where your business matters. And we thank you so much for being here. Now, every week, we have a co-host, and this month is no exception. I think last week she already proved that she's sharp, intelligent, and wise, and way over my head. So I had to bring in some backup to do that. I am speaking of Tamara. Tamara, I don't want to destroy your last name, and I, for the life of me, still can't. JoJo and I tried to practice your company name and kept getting that wrong. So please do that for me so I don't do it inappropriately.
Sure, Joe. Tamara Rabenold, and I'm the owner and CEO of Vodra International.
And Tamara, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Glad to be here again.
So you are my go-to woman for what now you taught me last week is IP, right?
What's that stand for?
Oh, you see, you tricked me there. I had it down, and now my mind is missing it. Describe for everybody what it is that you do.
Intellectual property. So we are private investigators that specialize in intellectual property investigations. And what that means is it's the counterfeit goods. It's anything, a trademark is a name, image, logo, something that is on a brand that identifies the source. And we work with our clients to protect those that are knocking them off, the dupes, the rips, the fakes that are out there.
And it's audio, video. Is it wording? I mean, is it anything, or is it specific to?
It's not anything. I mean, a lot of things can have different kinds of protection. Trademarks, it's usually a word mark or design mark. There's also trade dress. So there's a lot of different ways. And then you have patents, trade secrets, copyrights. There's a lot of different elements.
I was thinking about, like the little bell that I hear on a commercial or a ding or something like that. I mean, do you get involved in any of that?
Yes, we do.
What do you call those little bells and ding? Like the McDonald's, I'm loving it. They got a little ding behind.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
That is actually, it's called.
Oh gosh, that might just cost me $5 right there.
Maybe. That is, gosh, and literally, there's a term for it, but those are sound marks. And it's kind
Sound
of in that,
marks.
yes, sound
Okay,
marks.
got
It's
it.
in that kind of unique category, like the sound on Netflix.
Right,
in
right.
between.
That's right. That's
the
right.
roar of MGM's lion at
That's
the
right.
beginning of a movie. Those are all registered.
And
sound
we've all
marks.
grown up with, if we hear those things, we know. We absolutely know what that is. If they said nothing, we would know what that meant.
And there's so many fun ones too, like the Tiffany blue box, like the Tiffany blue. That is
Right.
a thing.
That's right.
The smell of Play-Doh. So there's
The
all
smell.
kinds.
Really?
There are also sound. Yes, smell.
Okay. That's it. You got me there with the smell.
Yeah, it's actually described as like musky vanilla. Like it has an actual description of what that smell is.
I wouldn't have thought that. I should have thought that, but I wouldn't have thought that.
You just never know.
Interesting. Okay. So because you got a big brain, and I'm having a hard time keeping up with you, I went ahead and brought another big brain in to work with us.
Excellent.
He's a friend of mine, whether he will admit it or not. Now, that's a whole different story. Heath Gilbert. Heath is a top attorney in North Carolina. Matter of fact, he was named the top business attorney in North Carolina by Business North Carolina magazine back in January. Heath, my friend, thank you for being here, buddy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and I'm glad to call myself your friend.
I got him in the chair. He's stuck here. What
choice
can he
does he
do?
have?
What
Yeah.
choice does he have? So, Heath, normally you don't know this about the show, Heath, but normally we don't bring our guests on till the second half of the show. But I thought maybe you could jump in on this. One of the things we do, we require the co-host to bring something to chit chat about. You understand? They got to go to the Google, they got to find something, and then we talk about it. And I know Tamara does her homework, so you've done that already.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And so we're going to take a break. When we come back, I just want you, Heath, to participate in that conversation because you might have run up against some of this stuff. It'll be fun to get you involved in this. Before we do that, we got about a minute, Heath. Kind of give me an idea of what your specialty is in law that you work with.
I'm a small business attorney. I represent small to mid-sized businesses. They call them Main Street businesses, or anywhere from 2 employees to 5 or 6,000 employees or more. They might make $500,000 a year, or they might make up to $100 million a year. And I'm their lawyer. And matter of fact, I am sometimes referred to as their outhouse counsel. So, as you know, all this stuff flows to me, right? But we do good work for them, and we answer their questions.
Right. But let's take a break and we'll come back. You see, I got a big head. I'm going to be able to keep up with you now, Tamara.
We'll see.
We'll see. Okay, we got about 30 seconds. What are we going to talk about when we come back?
So we are going to talk about hiring investigators.
I'm going to tell you my story when we come back.
I'm excited to hear it.
We come back. I'm going to tell you, for those that haven't heard, one of the biggest mistakes I've made in the last year. It's kind of embarrassing.
Okay.
I'm
There's
still
no
going to tell it.
judgment here.
I'm still going to tell it. You are listening to Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vacnone, and we will be right back where your business matters.
I definitely think you'll have some interesting,
Okay.
because it's really about when you need an investigation.
Right.
How, kind of making some steps to help people evaluate, and then when to get legal involved.
And now that I know what you do, I've been involved as local counsel for a number of things like that for major manufacturers here in North Carolina and South Carolina.
Oh, fantastic.
So I've got a guy that does that on the plaintiff side, represents businesses, goes off and people for taking their intellectual property.
Oh, great. Yeah, well, it's happens all the time.
Yeah.
It's great that
Big federal court thing, but some substantial stuff too.
yeah, it can be, and we've anything consumer electronics, vapes, cannabis, health and beauty. And we work across all the different industries. We have clients in all those different sectors. Automotive,
Yeah.
which is really scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heath, Julie's got your LinkedIn on Facebook, and she's also got your Balcom Clater website on Facebook as well.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, our website needs to be updated, but that's a whole different story.
Oh, God, I know.
Sorting through that.
Like a never-ending thing, too.
Yeah.
Trying to update.
Yeah.
It
add
really
content.
is. It really is.
And it can really be exhausting. And like, do you do SEO? Do you not worry with SEO? Like, what?
Yeah, I can remember when I considered a website like a flyer. Now it's your front door.
That's right.
I mean, it's changed drastically.
Well, and the thing is that you can look as big and badass as you want online, and then you could be a shack on the side of the road.
Well, that's what we need you for. That's right. That's what we're getting ready to talk about.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what we're getting ready to talk about. A nice looking painted shack. Yeah. You are listening to the #1 live talk business show in North Carolina. I'm here talking with Tamara. I'm not going to say her company name. Go ahead, do it.
Vodra.
Vogra.
Vodra.
Vodra. Jojo,
Vodra.
that's Vodra. When we practiced that, Vodra, we kept missing the D. Vodra. Got it. Thank you
You're
for
a
being
piece
here.
of work.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am also here with Heath, my friend, Heath Gilbert. He is one of the top attorneys in North Carolina. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to try and shorten it up, okay, just because I know I might bore you with my story. And then I want to talk about one of the most successful things I did. I'm going to tell you one of the worst things I've done in a long time. I purchased and was also, Heath, it got worse, right, Heath? Because I was brokering this business, which was Amazon Fulfill by Amazon. And this is a concept where you would give somebody, in my case, $35,000. They would then purchase product for you, put it in package it in a way that would ship it to one of these Amazon fulfillment centers. And then when somebody ordered it, they would send it out, and then you would receive your check. And everybody would be working for you, and you would have to do nothing. And let me tell you something. I know it sounds like it is some too good to be true, but the truth is there really is a successful program out there that works well. In fact, consider it sort of a hotel management service where you would put together a hotel, and then you could hire a management company to go and actually run the hotel, right? So the concept is solid. The problem is there are, as you can imagine, a whole lot of individuals that have to do certain things to make that work well. All of them have to be approved by Amazon, and then they all get to touch the money before it finally gets back to you. Now, Heath, I probably don't have to finish this story because you know where I'm going with this, right? And that is they never bought the product. Okay. What product they did put on Amazon was broken toys and that sort of stuff. So when the clients received them, they were sending them back. So it looked like I had sold $15,000 worth of inventory in less than 16 days. Well, that sounds great. Come to find out, there were broken toys, and so the people were sending them back. And of course,
Chargebacks.
Amazon was doing the best they can to make sure that they were taken care of. Meanwhile, my company that I was now responsible for this, blah, 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 blah. So the point that I make is when I tried to clean this up, I didn't know who it was. I had no idea who I was actually dealing with. And it was actually 3 different states and manufacturing and packing companies that were moving every 6 months someplace else. So they couldn't be tracked. Now, I tell you all that because, gosh, what a horrible thing that I did, right? What a big mistake. You know, Joe, I'm a master at small business. How dare you suggest I can't figure out small business? And the only way I could get closure and actually make all of this work for me, Tamara, I had to hire a private investigator. And private investigators got a network throughout the nation. And so they had to contact 5 or 6 different private investigators, one in Georgia, one in Illinois, one in New Jersey, right, to track all of these people down, literally track them down. And I must tell you something, it was one of the most challenging things I've ever had to do in business was correct a mistake in 4 or 5 different states. It was very challenging and very difficult. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about because I didn't know if you got involved in that. But I got to tell you something. My wife and I, oh, by the way, I got my son involved because I wanted to teach him how small business worked. You understand? Ask me how that turned out, right? But I bring that up because the issue here is that the moral of the story was the person that was able to help me the most was a private investigator to track down and get answers to questions that nobody could answer. Have you heard this story before?
Yes. And I'm so sorry that you went through that. Number one. Number two, I'm thrilled that the people within my profession as investigators was able to support you and help you through that because that's miserable when you feel like, okay, here we go. This is my big break. Here's,
Right.
But,
here's my chance to teach my son small business, right?
You made a comment very early on, sounds too good to be true.
Yep.
And while there are certainly maybe better examples of scenarios out there like that, Amazon doesn't like that whole business concept. It's
right.
going against their terms and conditions. There's a reason they practically video chat with you to set up a seller account.
Right.
Because they want to know you're responsible for it. So then you are on the hook
right.
when you have all these parties in the background.
That's right.
But,
yeah, it was, and the concept I want people to hear, there's 2. One of them is when you're doing this, make sure you're buying and using a credit card because the credit card companies can track the cash and help you get your money back, which, by the way, Heath, I got my money back, Good. But it was through the credit card company that I got the money back. But what the private investigator said when I hired him was, Joe, why didn't you hire me at the beginning and let me check them out? We would have found out that 2 of the guys had served time. 2 of the guys are already being sued for this very same thing in Georgia. Another one is being sued from the landlord because he isn't paying for the warehouse that your product is supposed to be in. And he said, I could have found all this out in less than 10 days for you. So what I want people to hear is if we will hire private investigators before we make the decision, that would have been a better thing for me to do. And can you believe after, I'm embarrassed to say I'm 60-something years old, after 40-something years in business, I would not have thought of that until after, because I would have thought my experience was enough. But when you're dealing with multi-state criminals,
it's a mess.
Yes, you cannot do enough on your own to actually do that research.
No, and with the anonymity of the internet, how easily you can spin things up, it really can be very challenging.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So Heath, jump in whenever you want, and you can call me stupid if you want. All right, I admit it.
We're never too old to learn, Joe. You just proved it, and we learn something new every day, and we're failing if we don't.
No, but that due diligence process is very important. That's the key to buying a business is being on top of that. Making sure that you see the numbers
on the front end.
On the front end. And if something jumps out at you, there are ways to handle that, and there are ways to even do earnouts or things like that can help protect the buyer.
Well, and so what I want to talk about with these articles, so it's you may never need a PI, and you certainly hope that you never need a PI. And I don't take any offense to that. There's actually a lot of professions like that. I kind of think that might be another one where you don't really want an attorney, but then you're so excited when you have a excellent resource.
But here I am telling a story
Yes.
saying, I think you probably do need a PI more than you think you do, just like you need an attorney more than you'd like to admit you need one, right? You know?
And definitely on the front end as opposed to the back end.
That's exactly
but
right.
Like the key. Okay, so the key is recognizing why an investigation may be a smart move, when you should hire a professional investigator, a private investigator, who you should hire that's going to be the best fit for what you need, and then how to most productively work together to support your end goals.
And, you know, Heath, she says something I think is really important because different private investigators, just like attorneys, they absolutely have these skill sets that are good or bad in certain areas. And so I think that matters. And if you get somebody like an attorney or an accountant or somebody like you, Tamara, to say, this person is good to help you with that problem.
Yes.
This person is better at problem B. That
Absolutely.
really matters.
Well, and I wrote it's available on our website, and I know Julie was going to drop links in the chat. But
You can consider it done.
Okay, awesome. So I wrote a 4-part blog series that gets into the considerations around all of these things. And so, you know, I'm hoping that it can be a tool for those because, again, like all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, what just happened?
Right.
You don't know who to call. You don't know if it's really going to be worth it or not. And so I'm hoping that this little series kind of helps, like with some 10 key points around each topic. And I was just going to hit a couple of them related to each because I know we're on the radio. And it's long. See, I tabbed things. So things to think about, like, okay, if it's time for an investigation, some things to ponder. Okay, high stakes. You got to consider the potential consequences of inaction.
Right.
And this is really
In my
where,
case, it was pride.
Yeah. Saying this is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Right.
So, you know, it may, you know, if it's not obvious, it's like, okay, wait a minute, maybe I need to just check this out a little bit,
right,
and kind of think that through, because it can also help you identify the size of the stakes that may be involved. If there's a legal or ethical risk, does there appear that, like, you need to take action? Is it really not a question of whether you should or shouldn't, but like you need to, because maybe somebody could get hurt if you don't,
right,
or there's some other repercussion that could happen because you're not making sure you have all the facts to be well informed. And then you'll have, like, if all of a sudden it does escalate, you have the answers and the evidence you need for whatever those next steps are. And another reason is, like, the failure of previous solutions. Like, we've tried this, this, and this, and nothing works. Okay, well, so now this is when you need an outside party, a third, like.
And the way that they look at it is completely different than a business person, right? The way the private investigator thought of this problem of mine was nothing the way I would have considered going at it.
Right. So, should you outsource to a professional investigator? That takes me to the second block. Specialized expertise, objective perspective. Like, we are going to look at things so much differently than you will when you're in the weeds, in your business, in your personal situation, whatever it is. Like, you need that outside party to bring you a perspective that you don't have, without bias, without, I mean, completely neutral, no judgment. Like, all right, lay it all out there.
That's right.
Open the kimono. Like, what are we dealing with? And let's see how we can help.
Hearing you talk about this reminds me of the second question that the investigator asked, which is, what did he do before this? I don't know. I never thought to care. And he said, well, we might want to find that out. Right? Let's take a break and we'll come back.
Okay.
You are listening to Local Biz Now, where your business matters. We'll be right back.
Seats now.
Switching seats.
Okay. All right. I'd have to. Oh. I need a scrunchie on my wrist for this.
I'm going to give Heath some time in the hot seat. So Heath, let's finish this conversation, and then we'll dig into the legal side.
I'll kind of speed through.
Right. Yeah, because Julie has already been putting these on on YouTube.
Where's the camera?
I mean, excuse me, on Facebook.
Okay. So talk to the camera, right?
I usually say
Yeah.
otherwise you really have
Fine.
but unless you're making a point.
And if you know there's a good short coming on, you
Yeah.
you
I
want
think
to make
maybe if
that
it was a
Right,
little
right.
more- so I feel like I need to lean this way. Okay.
because remember why you're sitting there.
Right.
It's the short. you know?
Right, right.
Well, you're going to be turning your head mostly to
Oh,
the so
true.
I don't want to
Understood.
turn. It'll be
I mean, you're the expert. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Yes, yes, fine. I mean, as comfortable as being on the radio and being on video is. So,
well, you get used to it, though, right?
well, I mean, I have to say, I was excited about driving to
That's right.
Statesville this morning and have another shot at
We
it.
have a
so
we have a co-host every month for the whole week,
Yeah.
for every week. And I tell people the hardest part about being with this format is it takes you a month to get comfortable. So by the time the month is up, she'll get it. She'll know what she
I want
wants
to
to
get
do, how
faster.
she wants
I
to
want
do
to
it.
get on
right.
it way faster
right.
than that.
That's right. Don't worry, I'm sure Julie will ask you to come back if you want to. She'll.
Kind of hoping so.
Years ago when we got started, it was me and a buddy that did the show. He actually is a business coach, and he asked me to help him do the show because his formal life, he was an actuarium, which he was really, really a dry guy, right? And he knew this just wasn't going to work. He needed Joe, right?
Yeah.
And so
He needed a color analyst.
That's right.
Analyst.
That's right.
That's right.
He used to say for years in our little promos, I teach and Joe preaches.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I think he thought it was an insult, but I took it. I'm good with it. For years. So we did that for about 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Then he retired, moved off to Hilton Head, and that's when we started the new concept of a different co-host every month. Because I didn't pick
All
the
right.
first
Sorry
one.
about that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
it's kind of hard to pick a next co-host, and this just works
Yeah.
because it's end up
Papers in my
being a
security
lead
blanket. They
generator
don't need
for
to be
me.
on.
Sure.
So she will bring people on that she knows that I've never met before, and then it really has become a really healthy lead generation. And
Absolutely.
again, we've been doing it well over 10 years now. But it does take them a little time to get used to it. What the owner says, it takes them time to figure out when you can jump in from Joe talking. That's what they got to figure out.
You do make it easy, though.
Julie's always said, I want her back, talking about you.
Thanks, Julie.
And she's got your postings already on WSIC Facebook.
Fantastic.
So Heath, be planned that I'm going to take advantage of you one day because I'm going to create a show with 4 attorneys, each
cool.
one specialized in a different place, and I'm going to have it a call in when people can call in and ask questions and that sort of stuff. So that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it would be. And I'm glad to do that. I've done that, with the WBT does this North Carolina for all, whether people call us and ask us free advice, and it's good stuff.
Well, and you have that form on your website to ask a question.
Yeah.
Is that like
Yeah,
kind of an initial little free consultation?
Not necessarily, but that happens more often than not.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all got questions.
Right.
Yes.
Just one question for 2 minutes.
That's right.
It turns
That's right.
into 30 minutes. I know. We got them. Yeah. You are listening to the #1 live talk business show in North Carolina. Thank you so much for listening. We've been doing this show going on strong for over 12 years. Thank you for listening. I am here with Tamara. She is the CEO and owner of Vodra.
Yes.
There's no O in there at all.
know, it's French.
Vaudra, and you want me to see
It's French. It's French.
Dra.
Yes, Vodra. You're going to get it. You know, I'll get the hang of this co-hosting by the end of the month. You'll get the hang of saying
Jojo,
my company's name.
Dra. Okay, gotcha. There's no O in there anywhere. I just want you to be aware of that. Okay, got it. Tamara, thank you for being. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it. And my friend, whether he will admit it or not, I do appreciate him. Heath Gilbert. He is with Balcom Clater Law Firm, and he also is the what was the official title I get here? Top business attorney in North Carolina by Business North Carolina magazine. Congratulations on that title, buddy.
Thank you. It just means I had some friends that liked me and voted for me. That's all.
That reminds me, years ago, I like to tell people I was the student body president of Central Piedmont Community College, right? What I don't tell them was the system required that only presidents of the club get to vote. And at that meeting, there were 7 people. 4 of them were my friends. So, I get it.
Yeah.
But take it anyways.
I'll take it. I'll
take
take
it
the
anyways.
win. That's right.
I'm sure you earned yours more than I did mine, but thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate you being here. Okay, so what we're going to try and do is keep going just a little bit, Tamara, on some of the stuff you're talking about. And Heath, please feel free to jump in at any time if you've got an opinion on any of this stuff as well.
Yeah. So we were just touching on this 4-part blog series that I wrote, and this was related to should you outsource to a professional investigator, and we talked about the objective perspective.
Right.
The depth of resources is key, and you've talked about that related to the PI that you hired, being able to reach across multiple states, the closed source databases. We just have different tools that we're going to be using every single day that we can leverage for a case.
Nowadays, that multi-state is becoming more and more common. I mean, it is something you better plan on. And a lot of people, Heath, they need to look at their contract because probably they may not be doing with somebody in the state that the operation is actually in.
Yeah, most of the time that's the case too, and that can change. The law changes in different states, and it could also make you liable in a different state that you don't expect to be in the state you're in. So knowing the location of the law is very important.
And where, if there is some kind of action brought, what state it's going to be brought in.
Correct, exactly.
Tricky, I tell you, tricky.
It is
That's right.
tricky. There's a reason, too. It's tricky.
Okay. Keep
so
going.
confidentiality, maintaining anonymity, undercover assets. We haven't even talked about undercover. It's a lot of fun.
See, that was important for me because I didn't want anybody to know how stupid I was.
Okay, Joe, you're learning. You're learning. It's okay. It's not
Don't
stupid.
tell anybody how stupid I was. Of course,
Learning.
my wife and son probably remind me of that daily. You understand
Well,
what
you know,
about?
you won't make the same mistake again. So it's good. And really, hiring a PI, it's really about maximizing the highest, who can provide the highest return on the results for the time and money spent.
Right.
Versus if you do it yourself. So
That's exactly, I agree with that 100%. Whenever I do a buy or a sell on a business, we have a program through Westlaw that I can use that gives me some information as to the public records that exist.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very limited snapshot of what's available, but if something springs and shows and it says there's something that raises a red flag, I will always say we got to bring somebody in on this because that could create problems for you in the future.
And Heath, you bring up something. All of us have this, right? Which is, I have some tools. I have some websites that I pay for that give me information. In my case, it's valuation information, multiple information that you wouldn't have, right? And so if you see something you're not sure about a valuation, you can call me and I can tap into a resource that you just wouldn't have because we all can't pay for every single website that's out there. And so, Tamara, in your case, I only know this because I hired him. There are some websites that you guys have that does a much deeper dive on an individual than I would know.
right. Absolutely.
So there is more resources than just somebody who knows how to do it.
Right. Well, and really, I mean, because of our credentials and our licensing, I mean, we're able to get access to Social Security numbers, full dates of birth, historic addresses, historic relationships. Like there's just so much more that we can get because, there's a lot of stuff that's open source. OSINT is the short term. Open source intelligence that's out there, but there's a bunch of crap. So you have to sort through it. And then the closed source is where you can really go deeper and fine tune it and make sure you really have the verified, true information on that party, that company, whomever you're dealing with.
I mean, in this case, my private investigator knew it. This is in New Jersey, that this guy that we had been tracking down was going to be in the courthouse because he had a court date at 8:05, right? How would I possibly know that if they weren't all working together and I could make sure that there's a private investigator standing right there to present that that otherwise he just was hiding from, So this we're talking about real help here, real value.
Well, I'm glad. And and so the next little blog is related to vetting and selecting a qualified investigator. So you've already said that, you really need to make sure that that investigator has expertise tied to what your particular topic is. So obviously we do intellectual property, brand protection. There's people that do child custody, family law. Like it's just like you don't want a general practitioner doctor to operate on your heart. It's the same idea of having a specialist. You want to make sure you have an attorney who knows their way around a business and can really make sure that you want the best representation possible in any of these scenarios when you're paying somebody for their help.
That's right. And, Heath and I, we go through this all the time. And, Heath knows me well. I am the best small business broker you're going to find in North Carolina. Hear the word small, right? That's 5 million on down. When I run into something above that, I've got to know that my client needs something more than what I can provide. And what you're describing is the same thing, although it might just be specific in what the skill set is.
So other quick things to think about is licensing, because not every state requires license. North Carolina does, but there's also sites that you can double check for licensing. Location, I know we talked about like some of these things where you need to have somebody local. Now we conduct investigations globally from our office in North Carolina without any issue, but then you have those situations where you need to tap boots on the ground because you need to jump in a dumpster, do some surveillance, do whatever. And so then that's when you really have to have those local resources. We've talked about the experience and specialization. When you're vetting those potential investigators, talk about costs and fees, because they're going to vary greatly depending on the specialty, the location, their experience. And really, you need to have those conversations about what it's going to cost before everybody gets fired up and you have results you like or don't like, because you're paying for answers, regardless of whether or not you like them. And so that's something you really have to keep in mind too.
That is such a true statement. You are paying for answers, not an outcome that's either good or bad. It is information.
And she brought up a point about knowing who somebody's friends are. That's a very important thing, because when you lie with dogs, you get fleas. And so it's a good idea to know who somebody's friends are, because if they've committed fraud, the chances are so are their friends, and it's cyclical, and it'll go down. It'll happen over and over and over again. So
it's so funny you say that, because the guy we tracked down in New Jersey had connections literally to the mob, and honestly, if you met him, you'd have never believed it. You are so right. It's such a unique problem, and I want people to hear that this really is the right move in the right direction.
Well, and I know we don't have much time, but the last piece is related to strategies for successful collaboration. Define clear objectives. That's key. Let them know what you already know and what you already have, and make sure you establish a chain of command and communication cadence that's going to work with your case.
You are listening to Local Biz Now. We'll be right back. Did we get that in?
No, I was
that
watching
music
it.
was perfect.
Right on the radar.
You didn't hear the music, but if you had the headset on, you could tell that the music was right. Yeah, that was perfect.
Yeah,
that actually sounded good, because you were finishing up as the music started to play.
Well, I was watching that timer and I was
Nice
like,
job,
oh, here
Joe.
it comes.
That was a nice job, JoJo. You were professional right there.
I mean,
at least the last minute, you were professional.
that was the closest ever, right?
I didn't do much. You just.
Oh, I'm not watching.
She wasn't rushing because she didn't know that the music was last.
But I could watch the stopwatch because JoJo told us this is where we need to look. Because now I wanted to touch on that last blog, and so now I'm done. So now It's all about you.
Yeah.
And Julie's got it on Facebook for him. Okay. So we come back, Heath. Let's kind of dig in a little bit more into legal stuff.
All right.
Is there something specific or direction specific, Heath, you want to go in, or are you good with where we are?
Go with whatever way you want to go. So
Gosh.
it, there's all kinds of things in the law. So, and what I do is, as you know, is varied. But I do a lot of M&A, and
No, I'm good.
and that's how I know Joe. But and then regular representation. So.
Well, and I know like Joe didn't ask my opinion on what to talk to you about, which he doesn't. I'm just the co-host. But I think it's fantastic because I, of course, did a little research before we were going to be on here together, and I loved how.
She wouldn't be sitting here if she didn't, if you didn't check out. You understand?
I love how you. I mean, how you're ADHD and how you've used that as a superpower.
Yep.
To fuel what you're doing now.
Yep.
And
Yep.
learning how to harness that. And I think so many people suffer with some kind of cognitive, we all have our issues.
Right.
And so I think it's fantastic that you're educating other people about that and how you've used that
And I can
as a strength.
I can hyper focus like nobody's business.
Wow, it's fantastic.
Okay, when we come back, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't do that much research on you, buddy. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, you have people on here all the time. See, I'm just trying to look good. Just trying,
Okay, you impressed me again. See, Heath, you thought you were going to come on. Yeah. You are listening to Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone, and I promise you, if it's Monday afternoon on WSIC, your business matters. And we're glad to have you here. And Tamara, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it.
Happy to.
And I'm also here with Heath Gilbert. He is one of the top business attorneys in North Carolina. And Heath, you don't get to come on the show without us picking on you. You understand that, don't you? I mean,
that's fine.
Okay. But because I got a super brain sitting next to you, and Tamara, she did a little bit of research on you. And Tamara, you guys were describing on the break, you were suggesting that he overcomes some personal stuff. Talk a little bit about that. Ask him to work through that, because I was not aware that you had done that research on Heath, and that was part of his life.
Yes. Well, and I mean, I'd rather you speak to it.
Sure. So I have attention deficit disorder, ADHD, like so many other people do. Now, a lot of people say they have it, and they're just talking. Right, but I actually do have it.
Diagnosed.
Oh, you're that one guy.
I actually diagnosed. That's right. And I found out I had it when I struggled with the bar early on, and was tested, and they said, "Oh yeah, you got it bad." My mother was a guidance counselor. Said I didn't. I had no idea you had ADHD, and I said, "Well, it's probably because you had ADHD as well."
You both were constantly moving at the dinner table.
That's correct. But what it does though is it allows you to hyper focus, to sit on something, and somebody could talk to me right here, and I'm not paying attention to them at all because I'm centered on exactly what it is I've got to be on. And it's, I think candidly, it's made me a better lawyer. A lot of people who do trial work are lawyers that have ADHD. I've taught classes on ADHD within our bar in Mecklenburg County. And you just don't know how many people have stepped in and said, my goodness, this changed my life. It changed my practice. It made me a better attorney. It made me a better husband. It made me a better father or whatever. Now I'm not going to suggest that that's done that for me, but it has made me a better attorney to know about how to use my ability to focus or sometimes lack of focus.
So I ask this question for business people all the time, and now you don't have to go back to 1962, but kind of walk me through how we got here. I mean, did you wake up on a Tuesday and decide, hey, I want to be an attorney? How does that happen for you?
Yeah, so probably my dad's a retired Methodist preacher from Eastern North Carolina. My mother was a teacher. They kind of drilled into my brother and me things that they thought that we would be good at. Now my family would tell you that they programmed us, and probably that's the case. My brother is a doctor; he's a laryngologist in Missouri, and I'm an attorney. I knew I wasn't going to be a preacher. That wasn't going to happen. After living all the years in the parsonage, and in the Methodist Church, you literally live in the parsonage.
Right. That's right.
So I knew that I didn't want to do that. I knew I wanted to have a little bit more flexibility. Candidly, the lawyers were the first ministers in the world. So to the whatever extent we can give back, we still do that. And the way that I approach the law is to be a counselor of law, like Lloyd Balkin, my former partner, did. Sometimes you just have to talk to people and listen, and be part of who they are, and not necessarily always be about the billable hour, and always be about trying to cut them short and move on. Sometimes it's about the person or their entity, and helping them focus. And so, to the extent that I can provide that as a son of a counselor, or a guidance counselor, or a son of a minister, then I'm glad to do that.
I knew your old partner Lloyd Balcom quite well, only because I did a lot of stuff in the restaurant business. He was very, very heavy in the restaurant business, and I could remember having a conversation with one, and he made a statement to me that I use to this day. And he said, Joe, most of my small business clients, if they could do their own brain surgery, if they had a big enough mirror, they'd do their own brain surgery.
That's right.
Have you heard him make that statement before?
I have, yeah.
It is such a great,
That's
it's
right.
so true, because we all, want to try and do, and what he's talking about is exactly what we're talking about here today. You really do, especially in this modern world of technology, you really do need to get people involved that help you with areas in which you don't have the same experience.
I agree with that. And one of the things that I think that sets me apart from some of my colleagues that I've encountered in the past is I want to try to talk with them and not at them, and talk with them in a way that they understand. And I'm only doing that in the way that I understand things. I'm not trying to highlight my degree or anything like that. I think about things on a very basic level, and I think people want to be talked to on a very basic level, because, again, that's how I understand things.
Right.
I remember in law school that somebody was clerking for somebody, and the client was sitting next to us, and the lawyer was using big words like you're going to be enjoined from doing that. And the client looked at me and said, "What?" And I said, "It means you can't do it." And they got it, right? They understood.
Right. That's right.
And so,
that sounds bad.
Yeah. And so sometimes it's just good to talk to people like you normally would, at a restaurant, or at a bar, or in a baseball game, or whatever. And I think that's how people want to be treated, like regular folks.
Well, one of the things I like about you is that I can send you a small business person with a tanning salon. I'm using that as an example, a coffee shop, or a sandwich shop, and I also can send you somebody with a larger business, and you can merge the two challenges, and you get that there may be different priorities for these different owners. That's a rare, unique talent for most attorneys. Most attorneys sort of have this skill set up high, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or they have this skill set down low, and you're able to sort of make that transition from large to small in sort of a snapshot. And that's important.
Well, a lot of that comes from the fact that I moved around a lot as a kid, right? So I had to go, as a Methodist minister's kid, you get plopped in a new situation.
Right.
And you had to make friends really quickly, and you had to learn people. You had to learn who they were, what they're about, and you're in a different church all the time, and you have to learn who the people are that can make things happen inside the congregation. So I picked up that skill level, and one of the things that I try to do too is to find out about my client. To go to their place, to go to their place of business, to go to their restaurant, to go to their plant, to understand who they are. Because once you have an understanding about that, that gives you the ability to understand what their needs are. I remember whenever I was a insurance defense lawyer when I first started practicing law, and my boss told me, and you would get hired by insurance companies to go try cases for them when people got into accidents. And my boss said, you need to go out to the accident scene and see the scene because that is so important to understand what happened or what's going to happen. And so I do the same thing in business. I try to find out what the scene is, who they are, what are they about. And that helps to feed me as to what their needs are with their contracts, with their employees, and what they may need in the future.
Well, and it gives you the perspective of things that they're not going to notice, say, and that they're not, because very similar with investigations. It's like all of the things that perspective you can bring by seeing it and kind of getting to know them, you're going to be able to bring so much more value to what they want you to do, what you're trying to do to support them, and then maybe even see other avenues, other angles that are like, oh, have you thought about this?
That's right. And go ahead. I'm sorry, Joe.
No, you're exactly right. I was going to say that you're also the attorney that doesn't mind doing litigation. And that's really important because when we're writing these contracts up, it's real easy to put stuff in there, right? But a guy like you knows I got to defend that. And I can't defend it the way it's worded. And people don't realize that, but that's one of the things I look for when I'm looking for an attorney. Have they done litigation work, right? Because it does matter.
It does. And that actually, I think the transactional lawyers that have done litigation are some of the best. So, for instance, my law partner, Ken Benton, used to do divorce work. And Ken's a fantastic lawyer now that does real estate work. But his information as to those lawsuits, fed into the nuances of those real estate matters.
Right.
Well, the same thing with my the personal injury stuff that I did with the contract lawsuits I've done, and I've tried a number of cases to a verdict in North Carolina. Those little nuances matter. So I'll give you another example. So if
you call them nuances for a guy like me, these are personal small interests that change lives.
They do. So if you ever see a contract and it has the word seal next to it, next to the signatures, okay? So in North Carolina, if you sign a signature and it says seal next to it, that extends the statute of limitations on a contract case from 3 years to 10 years. Okay, so if all of a sudden now you have a contract or a deal and it's centered in Delaware law, and it has the word seal next to the contract, and they signed it, that extends the statute of limitations from 3 years to 20 years. Wow. Now, that's a significant difference for somebody. And so, I remember fighting one time on a matter and saying, we're not going to have seal on the document. The other side said, oh, it's no big deal. We're not going to do it. I said, well, we're not going to do it. We're not going to sign. And they didn't understand why. Well, because we have an indemnity provision that limits liability for 18 months, and you're getting ready to go 20 years. That's not going to happen. And they relented, and they were able to come back and they say, okay, you're right, and I had to show them the law. But those are the important things that we look to make sure that's there, that a lot of transactional lawyers don't necessarily pick up on, but those of us who have tried cases look at and see and know those are the important things that could really make the issue a real problem in the future.
Heath Gilbert, he is the top business attorney in North Carolina by Business North Carolina Magazine. Heath, my friend, thank you so much. I know that Julie has already got your website on Facebook, and if you want to contact Heath, please give me or Julie a call. We will be more than happy to get you Heath's information. Buddy, thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Gosh, I sure do wish I could say your company name.
Stop it, Joe. You'll get it one of these times.
Tamara, say it.
Vodra
International.
Yes.
If it's Monday afternoon, somebody's making fun of Joe. We'll see you next week.